Hey everybody, welcome. I am Sarah Rose, the Launch Your Online Business Specialist. For those of you who don't know me, I'm coming from my dining room table in Charleston, South Carolina. And I'm joined today with Kristin Quattlebaum. And we are so excited today because we're going to be sharing our aligned messages with you, some business strategies, some mindset, and some exciting tips to help you power through this time and beyond. So Kristin, welcome.
Thank you, Sarah.
Can you see that on my screen? Something just popped up on the side. Maybe not. Okay, there it goes. I'm so happy to be here with you today, and tell us about you and what you do, and let's get into some dialogue here about how you got on your path.
Yeah. So my background is that I was in corporate for 15 years. And I was constantly looking for more, looking for the next thing. I was looking for my path. And I struggled finding it. I was looking for that one thing that would make me just happy. This is my purpose. This is where I belong. And I struggled finding that. I had a lot of opportunities. I was promoted a lot. I was invited to do special programs and travel and do all kinds of things, but none of it made me happy. And it became like just about achieving for me. It was just like, okay, I got this. What's next? How do I get to the next level? Like every time I get a promotion, it's like it didn't even mean anything to me. And what ended up happening was I started experiencing a ton of anxiety because all I was doing was putting my head down and just working and just trying to get there, try to get to that space that I'd find my happiness. And because I had been suppressing so much emotion, it all just came to a head one day. And I started, I went to see my doctor and she asked me to go to therapy. And that's what I did. And in that, I started unraveling like all of the emotional layers and just allowing myself to feel after suppressing my emotions for 30 years. And then what happened was about 2.5 years ago, I wanted to take my journey further and I got into coaching. I started meditating. I hired my first coach. I did a group program. And as I started meditating and just reconnecting to my intuition, that's when I started on my coaching journey. I got certified. I had 2 positions eliminated. I kept following my intuition. And now I have 2 coaching certifications. And despite everything that has happened along the way, I finally feel like I'm living my life purpose.
Isn't that amazing? Yes. And there's so much fulfillment in that when you really tune into what's inside and you're not afraid to be led by that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because there's some sort of a calling inside of all of us. I think entrepreneurialism is definitely not for everybody, but right now, if you're not looking into what your options are and figuring out a way to perhaps turn your passion into a profit, why not live your best life and follow that calling and that dream in your heart?
Right. So many of us are conditioned to stay in that zone of excellence, where we know we're good, we know we're safe. But if your heart feels called to more, like you said, listen to that. Like you're being called, like your intuition is trying to get your attention. And I always tell people, like, she's not going to stop.
That's right.
She'll start kicking and screaming and throwing a tantrum. Like, so you can choose to listen to the little nudges. Or you can let it get to that point, or where it manifests physically. Like for me, it came out as anxiety, right? It will manifest in your body.
Yes. The voices
until you see it. Yeah.
And that happened to me as well. It's funny you say that. And we were just talking about this a little bit before, but the voice was there. I kept knowing that I was meant for more. My creativity was sort of squashed, when you're a stay-at-home mom and everything that you do is poured into your child and to the family and just doing for other people, and you're not really feeling totally fulfilled within yourself. and having a higher purpose outside of that. And by nature, just being a creative person, that was just being pushed down, pushed down. I kept feeling this push, you know, you were meant for more, you were meant for more, you were meant for more. And you're right. All of a sudden the rug was ripped out from underneath us. We had a financial disaster. We lost everything. And I didn't have a choice. I had to figure out what the next step was going to be. The universe was like, get out there, girl. Do your thing. So yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. If the little nudges are coming, the little callings are coming, like, pay attention, because that's a message for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's so funny, because like me losing those 2 positions, and I was like, okay, universe, like I'll start my business. So many people do it half in, right? Like they're like, oh, I have a side hustle, and then I'm going to slowly transition into that. But I actually don't believe, if you don't put your whole, like all your energy into like your purpose and your passion, like I believe that's where the universe really gets behind you and supports you.
Yes. And it's almost like an airplane taking off the ground. And in the beginning, you can be bumping around like you're in a cave in the darkness and you don't really know what you're doing. You're trying to DIY a lot of it for yourself, and you might feel like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall and the results aren't coming. Well, I think failure is part of success, first of all. You have to have failure, you know, they're twins, fraternal twins. But, and you can't have one without the other. But also it's like, clarity is key. And if you haven't connected all the pieces just right yet, don't feel like you're on the verge of a breakdown. Understand that you're on the verge of a breakthrough, because once that clarity comes and the pieces do connect, which they will, with a little time, patience, and experience, it is like an airplane taking off the ground. It's like you're going like this, you're going like this, and all of a sudden it just goes boom, like up into the beautiful. It's the best feeling to fly, isn't it? So
it's so funny.
Tell me more about what, I'm sorry, I talked over you. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it's so interesting, because when I first started doing my intuitive coach, you reminded me of this when you talked about the flying. When I first started learning how to connect in with my intuition intentionally and start clearing all the subconscious beliefs, I remember the first time I did it, and the question that I asked was, what is holding me back in my business? And what I saw was this vision came through, and I saw this little girl and her mom, and they're standing on one side of the street, and on the other side of the street, there's this cliff. And she's trying to cross the street, and her mom's holding her back. And he's just holding her, and like not, and this little girl is like, she wants to go so badly, and she's throwing a fit and a tantrum, and final. And then so I asked, like, what do I need to know to let go of this belief? And then I saw this little girl break free from her mother. She ran across the street and she jumped off this cliff, and she started flying. And she looked back at her mother and she was like, see, it's okay. It's okay, you know, for me, it's safe here. Oh, it just reminded me of that.
Saying, I don't know if I'm going to butcher it or not, but it's something like, what if I fail? Oh, my darling, what if you fly?
Yes.
I think that's the point, is that all of us have something inherent holding us back, whether it's a memory, a family member, somebody in our lives who have conditioned us to believe that we're not enough, that we can't do it, whatever thing there is that's holding us back. What if you fly? What if you break free of those chains and you just say, you know what, enough. I'm going for it. We have this one precious life. Why aren't we all running towards our dreams like a house on fire?
Right. And what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
It doesn't work, so you change and you do something else, or, you know, like, what's really the worst that could happen?
Pivot if you must, but don't ever give up on your dream. So tell me more, Kristin, because I'm fascinated by this and I love everything woo, like we were talking about earlier. And I'm a business coach. I love strategy. I love mindset. But I also love the intuitive side of
Mm-hmm.
business. And so that's where your strengths are. So tell me more about, what does it mean to be an intuitive coach? We hear this term that's out there, and I don't know if a lot of people actually understand what it really means.
Yeah, so we all have intuition, and for many of us it's just blocked or clouded because we have those trapped emotions or beliefs, the conditioning that just makes it not quite as clear to see. And so we tend to just see it or hear it, and then we just push it aside because we don't really believe it, because we're not used to trusting it, you know? And so for me, what really started opening up my intuition was meditation.
Mm.
When I just started clearing the space and clearing all the noise, that's when I was able to finally hear my truth within me. And so before I became an actual intuitive coach, I considered myself an intuitive life coach, but not in the way that I am now. And so the training that I have now is really about having that intentional connection. So not just like, oh, I meditated and I got a message come through about something. Now it's like I sit down and I literally have a conversation with my intuition every single day. You know, what's in my highest good to do today? What's the biggest limiting belief that I need to clear today? And I ask those questions, and I run my life that way. I run my business that way. And I tell people now, like, I believe so strongly in intuition. I built so much trust with my intuition that I tell people I used to get paid to think. And now I don't. I don't think anymore. I make all my decisions with my intuition. And let me tell you, it's taken so much pressure off of like just that back and forth, that fear-based decisioning, that what if this and what if that. It's just, there's a clear feeling. That's your intuition. When you get that instant feeling, like, should I do this or shouldn't I? Does it feel good or doesn't it?
Yes.
And once you build that muscle, you can start following it regularly. It just, honestly, like, it's so much lighter. Like, my life is so much lighter now. So for my clients, what I do is, because I've cleared the channel for myself, I can now be a conduit and channel for my clients. So I can meet with them and they can ask me things like, you know, what's holding me back in this relationship? You know, what's holding me back from financial abundance right now?
You can almost rise above it and see what's actually going on, where they have lost that sight because they're standing in the situation and it's too close. We've all been
Mm-hmm.
there, haven't we? We've all been in either these chaotic situations like a lot of the world is in now, or relationships or something. And when you're so close in it, you almost own it, and you almost find comfort in the pain.
Yeah.
And
It's your identity.
it becomes your identity. I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there. When we had our financial crisis, it was almost like I was comfortable in anger and resentment and playing the victim mentality. It's who I became.
Mm-hmm.
And to have someone who can rise above that and look at the situation and go, okay, here's exactly what's going on. That is what a gift.
You know what's funny? Because when I look back on my corporate career, my gift, I used to be an analyst. And my gift was being able to look at like a new system or project and being able to tell you where all the problems would be. Like, what would all the root issues be? And that's what I used to do all the time. And that's what I do now as a coach. It's just different, right? Like, I'm just seeing it in people. Like, here's what I'm seeing in you, you know, and then we work through on how to clear that. So it's really amazing.
I love that. I absolutely love it. Well, that is so cool. So when you are having a session with somebody, um, how is an intuitive coach different than maybe like a therapist? If somebody's coming to you with something that is a concern or a block or something that's holding them back. They're pouring out their life situation to you. So how is it different than a therapist to actually coach somebody through this and are you giving them the tools, some sort of strategies, some sort of techniques or mechanisms to help them so that they don't find themselves continuing on in the situation?
Mm-hmm. So I did therapy for a number of years, and therapy was great. It's all conscious though, unless some therapists, like I remember mine tried tapping with me, and tapping didn't work for me. It just wasn't my thing. Maybe I just wasn't ready for it or whatnot. But I view coaching as a bit more progressive than therapy. Coaches, I feel like, yeah, they want to give you the tools to handle all these things on your own and do it quickly and progressively. And so for me, like the work that I do is I teach my clients how to connect back in with their intuition and be able to get that guidance themselves without looking outside. So you can choose to use tapping, or some people use like ayahuasca and like different like plant medicines and stuff to like get to their true self, right? You're really just finding ways and techniques to separate yourself from the ego, the mind,
Maybe a bit of,
and being able to tune in. Yeah, cards.
I love these.
You're just learning to separate yourself from the ego to hear your own truth. And I just do that naturally. I do that from I'm teaching you how to connect within, as opposed to needing something else to facilitate for you. Everything you need is inside of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is what I love about coaching, is helping women to find their gifts, because it's already inside of them.
Yes.
Maybe it's just overcoming that fear, gaining that confidence with a blend of mindset and strategy to say, you can absolutely do this. You got this.
Mm-hmm.
Face the fear and do it anyway. All right. So before we started our conversation here, we were talking a little bit about energy. And I've heard you speak about how you have to protect your energy, and you're not welcoming certain energies into your field. So let's talk about energy for a minute and why it's important to protect that within yourself.
Mm-hmm. So many of us that are empaths learn to protect themselves from that energy because it became too much to take on when we were kids. So for me, I shut that off, if you will, for a number of years. And I really put these guards up around receiving energy. And as I started connecting back within and unraveling all the layers, my natural ability to take on other people's energies started showing up again. And I remember I went to this retreat out in California, and when I left, I was in a room of 500 women. When I left, I felt like I was literally an anchor on the bottom of the ocean. Like, so much energy was weighing me down. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm an empath. Like, or, other ways, like now that I know more about like empaths and stuff, and just having like a super sensitivity to like noise and things like that. I remember I would get really excited to go out places, and then I would go out to a restaurant and my mood would like instantly shift, and I couldn't understand why. I'd think something's wrong with me. Like, why I was so excited about tonight. Like, why is this shifting for me? Like, what happened? And so now, like, yeah, as an intuitive, and I specifically, when I work with clients, I've learned to connect with my clients specifically. So I don't walk around and can just hear things. And I mean, I have trained myself to be able to tune in when I want to tune in. to someone else. So that's what I've done. And I do that in a way where I use a lot of universal energies to bring them in, raise my vibration, and protect myself with energy. And I'm just really mindful of separating myself from ego, because that's an energy that can come in and really like start to rile things up. I know I'm getting a little woo here, so.
Not at all. No, I'm loving it because it's so true. I mean, several things you just said really resonated with me. Like the ego is really just, all of us have the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other shoulder, right? And the devil is the ego. It's the fear saying you can't, you should do this, which is the decision you know you shouldn't be making because of your intuition, right?
What do you do? What are some things you do around energy?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's so important to keep your vibe high. And if something is coming at me that is not resonating or in alignment, my word is alignment. That's the name of my course. Is and if it's not in alignment with my mission, with my ideal client that I want to be working with around her problem that I'm helping her solve, which typically is helping overcome fear and gaining confidence. And I pick up on other people's energy too. And so I'm very cautious about who I let into my world. And I'm also very picky about who can come into my course, because it's got to be high vibe, positive energy, a safe place. And if I allow this negative energy to come in, that's down to me. And that's going to create for the whole group. And so when I say, let's have this call and see if we're a good fit, I'm not just taking on anybody who can fog a mirror because your card clears. It's got to be somebody who we're in alignment, that we can work together and make it a joyful experience for both of us. If I'm going to pour my heart and soul and my energy into something, then I would expect the same from you in that partnership, if that makes sense.
I agree.
So yeah, I just, music, I think these times right now are, everybody says unprecedented or whatever, but it's wonky. It can mess with your energy like easily. You can go from feeling great and you've been pouring your energy into your business and you can be feeling amazing and almost forget that this is happening. But then you put on the news, or all of a sudden it hits you that you haven't seen your family or your friends, and you can't go out to that favorite restaurant, or you can't go on date night. And I have an 8-year-old daughter at home, and the last few days she's been having meltdowns because she misses her friends so much. There's no relaxing there. And so you can easily be pulled into this lower vibe, this lower energy field. And I think the important thing is to recognize that, acknowledge it, and then do something about it. And I don't know if you agree. If would you say lean into those feelings and those emotions, or would you say do something about it to reach for a higher feeling? I listen a lot to Abraham Hicks.
Yeah.
He talks a lot about just reach for the higher feeling. If you're feeling scared or just reach higher. It could be frustration, even is better than anger.
Yeah.
Right? Just reach for something that feels better in the moment. I don't know. Do you agree?
Yeah, I love everything that you said with respect to boundaries. I agree. So big. Also, when you are on the journey and you have these tools, you do have to be mindful of spiritual bypassing. So if you are feeling something and you decide like I'm just going to shift it immediately without allowing it to be like evolve fully as it's meant to.
Yes.
Like all week I've been journaling on these fears, and when the process comes full cycle, when it's complete, I can feel that within me, versus like if it still feels like, okay, I tackled a little piece of that and I faced the fear, right? The best thing to do that is to call it out, and don't leave it sitting inside and marinating within you. But yeah, like you said, calling it out and facing it. So I would say if you don't allow, there's like a perfect time for each thing, I guess.
The word you used, evolved.
Yeah. If you don't let it become what it's meant to become and express everything that it needs,
Yes.
then you will still feel a piece of you that's
Being held back,
not resolved. It is. So that's what happened for me. I mean, literally I journaled all week about fears that were coming up for me, and I ended up taking the day off yesterday, and I did things that, sometimes I do find myself like where I just need to avoid. I watched a movie, yesterday, and like I haven't really been watching much TV, but it's just, I just needed to give myself space, whatever that looks like for you. And then today I journaled it all out, and it was beautiful.
Yeah. And I think a lot of this is life experience, and that's what makes us more valuable. I say that the only shortcut to success is to find a mentor or a coach, somebody who's already been through what you're going through and who can see it on the other side and say, you can come through this. And I think our life experiences are what make us more valuable, because we can say, okay, I've already done this, so you don't have to.
Yeah. We're all on the same journey. And that's why when you were saying, I love what you said about like you're interviewing these people just as much as they're interviewing you as a coach.
Right.
That's why I don't believe in competition, because our energies speak to different people. So when you feel called to and connected to someone, then reach out to them, because it's like your souls are speaking to each other. So I love that you said that. And if you go against that alignment and what feels good, it's not in the highest good for anyone there. That's why, like, what's in your highest good is in everyone's highest good.
I love that.
So if we did just take some clients out of, fear or lack or scarcity, it's not in their highest good, and you won't be able to serve them the way they need to be served. That's right. Yes, we're on the same journey, and yes, we can see parallels, but maybe our energies aren't really aligned. So I love that you brought that up.
Thank you. Well, and thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I know you've got a client here in a few minutes yourself, so we'll jump off, but I just wanted to, again, thank you for your time. I'm so excited to get to know you. And for those of you who are listening today, if you loved this conversation, if what we said resonated with you, well, you're in luck, because Kristin and I are co-speakers on a panel at a speaker summit, virtual speaker summit, coming up May 4th through the 8th. And we would love to have you all join us. We're going to be speaking with how many other speakers are there, Kristin?
I think there's 21 total.
21 of us.
Mm-hmm.
This incredible platform, the Adversity Advantage Virtual Summit 2020. And we would love to have you all there with us. It's going to be an incredible opportunity to learn and grow and overcome your fears, gain your confidence, and step into the person who truly can be, do, and have it all, and give it all. Because right now, giving is so important as well.
Yes, alignment,
absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for your time today. And Kristin, we'll drop our affiliate links to the summit in the comments below, as well as where you can reach out to us and ask us any questions you have. And here's to the journey.
Oh, yes. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. Good to have you. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.